What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Retro Hoop Collectibles. I need you guys to get your pencils out, get your graph paper out. We're gonna do a little math today. This is something that was discussed recently on our live podcast that we did this past Friday. Shout out to my man Jason. I think he's the one that sent this to me originally. I think so. I think it might have been Jason. If not, sorry, to whoever it is. I'm not giving credit. Listen, by the way, this last podcast that we did this past Friday, it's live. We live streamed it, so it's available on my channel and on JD's channel. Was probably the most fun I've ever had doing a podcast. We spent a little bit of time talking cards, and then afterwards was just complete nonsense. It was a lot of fun. It's really funny podcast. A really funny podcast. If you watch it and you don't laugh, I will give you a full refund. I promise. And by the way, link down below to my man JD's channel. I think he's like 20 subs shy of hitting 1,000 subs, which those of you who are on YouTube know that's a magic number for us. So please, if you have not, just head on over to his channel, hit the subscribe button. Let's get my man over the hump. And yeah, I appreciate that. And if you haven't just subscribed to this channel, then go ahead and do that as well. Because, yeah, I make good stuff for the most part. So today on that podcast, on that live stream, we pulled up something that was sent to us, which is right here. You guys know I rock with gem rates on Instagram. I'll also leave their link down below. Awesome if you want to keep up with like grading numbers and stuff that they do. So gem rates threw this up, and it was the total numbers of cards graded on April 7th, 63.3 thousand, which is 63,300 cards graded on April 7th. So in one day, PSA graded 63.3 cards, or 63.3 cards were added to the list, or to the pop report. The assumption there is that they graded them, right? They did something to them. It went through the process. And that number really scared the crap out of me, because aside from the fact that I've already been kind of concerned about the quality and the numbers that are coming out of PSA, because in the month of March, they did 1.2 million cards. As we were talking about it in that live stream, I had mentioned that what scared me is that 63,000 cards, from what I remember, was being done by roughly 100 graders. And I couldn't remember where I saw that number from. Somebody commented on that live stream that number was published, because I remember I saw it somewhere. That number was published in a Forbes article that came out about Nat Turner and PSA, or Collector's Universe, where they were talking about the ramp up that they had to do in order to keep up with the massive backlog that they had, right? We all remember that. Now, they've since gone through that and all that stuff, but in order to get there, they had to hire a lot of people. In that Forbes article, it mentioned that there was a total of 14 graders originally. Then they had to bump it up to 44 graders, and then at the height of their backlog numbers, got it up to 100 graders in their, on their grading floor. And so with that number is where I kind of formulated this idea. Now, that number is a little bit antiquated, simply because that article from Forbes came out in March of 2022. So we're essentially a year removed from when that article came out. My assumption is that they made the leap from 40 to 100, then it's probably safe to say that they've since then added, so that's about a 60 person headcount increase in graders. My assumption is that within the year they've added another 60 as well. So if we really wanted to get down into the numbers, let's just say that they have about 160, call it 180 graders available to put out this type of volume. And if you start thinking about how crazy that is, 63,000 cards, let's not even count the 0.3. Let's just go 63,000 cards done by 180 graders. So if you divide 63,000 by 180. That gives you 350 cards that one grader has to put out a day, right? So in one day, they did 63,000 cards. I'm recording a video. Come back later. Kids are crazy. 63,000 cards divided by 180 graders in one day gives 350 cards per grader. So every grader has to put out 350 cards, or in this case, put out 350 cards in one day. My assumption is that they have a normal work day, I would imagine. But even if we took that a step further and said, okay, maybe we tack on an extra hour and say that they have about a 9-hour day. So you take that 350 number, divide it by 9. So that means they're putting out roughly 38 cards an hour is how many cards they're putting out. 38 cards an hour. That's a lot of cards. Divide that by 60. Roughly about a minute, call it, per card. So the question is do you feel like that is enough time? Also take into consideration, I'm only talking about one grader looking at that card one time. According to PSA, they have multiple graders that look at these cards multiple times in order to get their grades. So, I mean, that minute goes out the window, right? But do you feel like that's enough time? If I was to tell you that I look at your card for roughly about a half a minute, 30 seconds, and assess a grade to your card, are you comfortable with that? Here's my problem. My problem is if you go on YouTube and type in PSA grade reveal, you're going to come across several videos where people on ultra modern cards that were printed in 2023 with our printing technology are getting 2s and 4s and 6s. Grades usually reserved for thin paper cards that have been sitting in an attic for centuries or for decades. I just don't understand how that's happening. But as you start looking at these numbers and as you start looking at the output that this company is doing, that PSA is doing, this 63,000 cards a day with only 100 estimated 180 graders, you can see where somebody can make a mistake like that, where somebody can look at that and go, that's not right. Right? That's not right. That there's no way. You can see how these mistakes are being made. And I stand by my stance where I'm saying that this volume that PSA is putting out is great for their revenue, right? Because that Forbes article also mentioned that they did about $150 million in EBITDA, which if you know business and you know what EBITDA is, it's earnings before interest, taxes, and something else. There's amortization and something. I can't remember what EBITDA is, but it's basically how much money they made, $150 million. They're just cranking, man. They're just cranking. Either that or they are fully utilizing their recently acquired technology through Genamint. They have to be. And maybe that's the reason why we're seeing some of these crazy grades, because Genamint's picking up something that's not correct. Their algorithm is set up a certain way where these cards are getting these crazy grades that they shouldn't be getting, and maybe it's something that, their engineers need to go in and fix. I don't know. But the fact that we're seeing volumes like this from PSA, and then at the same time we're seeing these ridiculous issues with their grading quality, where you can easily look at the card and go, there's no way that that's a 2, or there's no way that that's a 5. How is that a 5? And you go on their website and you read what a 5 is supposed to be and what a 5 looks like or should look like, and you go look at some of the other cards and you go, this is what a 5 should look like. It just doesn't make any sense. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. This is something that I've talked about several times already. But when we're starting to look at numbers like this is April 7th, 63,000 cards. We're talking 3 days ago that this happened, this past Friday. I just don't understand how people aren't either demanding that PSA give us some transparency on how they're actually grading your cards, or just simply flat out deciding not to use them anymore because you understand that when you send your cards to them, you're not going to get an accurate grade, either because the graders don't have enough time to look at it or Genamint isn't engineered properly. One of the two. I know this one's going to piss some people off, and that's okay. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, please. Because this, I challenge somebody to make sense of the numbers for me and give me a scenario under which you're going to put out this kind of volume with an estimated 180 graders and maintain a high level of accuracy and quality in the product and service that you're offering your customers when it comes to grading. I challenge you. I don't have a glove, otherwise I'd throw it on. Anyway, appreciate you guys watching as always. Let me know what you think down in the comments, because I know you PSA teat sucklers will definitely let me know what's on your mind. But the numbers don't lie. Love you guys as always. Peace.